Welcome to the Football Forecast, your ultimate guide to the NFL week ahead. Get ready as we dive deep into the biggest matchups, analyze key player performances, and break down the strategies that could make or break your favorite team's chances. Whether you're looking to dominate your fantasy league, make smart picks and bets, or simply stay ahead of the game, we've got you covered with insights and predictions. So buckle up, football fans. It's time to get your game face on for another action-packed week in the NFL. While only one team can hoist the trophy at the end, it all starts with the forecast. Welcome to a new episode of the Football Forecast. Week 4 of the NFL season is upon us on the Empty the Bench Podcast Network. If you want to follow the show on social media, it's at TFB Forecast, ETB across all social media platforms. If you want to see some wacky videos, including me trying to be a fake Stephen A. Smith, trying to do a Dallas Cowboys video, but on the Cincinnati Bengals, go check that out. It was a funny video. At least I thought it was a funny video. But all that and more, if you want our Thursday night football picks, you want Sunday night and Monday night football picks, and everything in between, all the graphics, check us out on this social media platform. Also, if you want to check out the Empty the Bench Podcast Network, you can follow us on YouTube, youtube.com/ETB Network. Very close to 900 subscribers. The big first goal is 1,000 subscribers. Please help us. We are very close. So go subscribe there as well. If you can't watch on the video side, watch on the audio side. Listen to the Football Forecast wherever you get your podcast. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeart, Odyssey, wherever audio is played. YouTube Premium, which I'm still learning, by the way, because I didn't know YouTube really had a premium for audio. So you can listen wherever. And then also the Football Forecast is presented by Playback. Watching sports is more fun with others, but we spend too much of our time watching alone. Playback is a virtual space where communities can stream live sports together with everyone perfectly synced up. Creators can hop on stage, deliver their own play-by-play analysis and commentary, and invite viewers up for Q&A. Playback makes watching sports fully interactive and a social experience. From playing fantasy sports, repping your favorite players and teams, and watching with the commentators and communities you care about. Win or lose, sports are best enjoyed together. Join our community by going to playback.tv/ETB Network to find out more, including our live stream schedule. Well, gentlemen, it was an interesting week in week 3. A lot of upsets. I lost track. But what I will say is I did get it right with the Cincinnati Bengals. And I think I was the only one who got that spread right. Or was it Pat and I that got that right?
Let me see.
It was just you.
Bengals. Who did the Bengals play week 3?
The Commanders.
They played the Commanders Monday.
Oh, there it is. Okay, I was like, where is it? Where is it listed on here? Okay, you got it right. I got 1 point for the Bengals, no cover. The cover wasn't hit because of the upset. Let's see.
Pat got it right.
Pat got it right as well.
It was a good week. For the most part, the lowest score of the week, well, unfortunately, Nick at 14 points, but it was a good week for everybody. Like there was a bunch
I
of
have the lowest score of the week.
Yeah, you only had you were only 5-9-2 last week.
Wow. Last week I won the whole thing. Last year, I won the whole thing.
Did you?
It's been a very interesting road because you look at the standings as of right now in terms of points. And do we have somebody at 58? No. So Anthony right now is leading at 57 points. Pat has 55.
I have 54.
You have 54. Nick D, middle of the road, 51. 48 for both myself and Ben. Zan, 45. I mean, Nick D, you and myself were two of, if not the top 2 guys last year, and now we're middle of the pack or struggling. It's been that kind of year with the NFL. I think after the first 3 weeks, guys, nobody has a clue to figure out what the hell is the NFL after these first 3 weeks, considering all the
nobody ever really does. It's like this every year.
What I will say is there were way more locks hit this past week. By the way, I feel vindicated that I took the Ravens as a -1 on the road, by the way, as a lock.
Yeah. Myself, Zan, and I believe Ben are still looking for our first lock victories.
Well, that was a tough lock loss with the Raiders last week with the Panthers, which we'll get into this week.
Yeah.
But you ready to get into this week? Because I think some people need some reprieve.
For sure. All right. We're going to start things off, guys, by going over to Lambeau Field for an interesting NFC North rivalry matchup. One with a lot more stakes than I think some of us thought heading into the season. It's the Green Bay Packers playing host to their dear rivals in the Minnesota Vikings. Packers a -2.5 favorite. Of course, the Vikings so far, guys, we talk about surprises. One of the biggest surprises of this season, a 3-0 start with Sam Darnold as the quarterback. The question is that run going to continue as they play in Lambeau? And my answer, I'll go first because, well, the Giants already played on Thursday, so the only team I really have right now for the show is Minnesota. Look, it's going to be very tough because the Packers tend to struggle. I mean, the Vikings tend to struggle when it comes to them traveling over to Lambeau. Just about everybody struggles when it comes to going over to Lambeau, the Vikings especially. Obviously, Sam Darnold, is on a terrific run. And, I mean, guys, they're playing great against the 49ers. They were playing great against Houston. And logic should dictate that they should be okay here. But my thing is, one, it's Green Bay. It's tough for them to win in Green Bay. Number two, I feel like the Packers so far have done well for themselves, even after losing Jordan Love in the first week of the season. I did say, the Packers are a team that all they got to do is survive until Jordan Love comes back, because the first half of their season is pretty winnable. So I'm actually going to take the money on this one, and I think Green Bay, it's not going to be a significant covering of the spread, but I think 3, 4, 5 points, I think it can get done. I'll take the money on Green Bay. Nick DiMartino.
I am going with Sam Darnold and the Vikings. The main reason I'm going with Darnold is I just checked the weather app on my phone, and the weather is not supposed to be too bad in Green Bay. I think the reason teams struggle at Lambeau a lot of the time is really just because they're not used to the weather, and it's still September. So I think the Vikings. I think the Vikings will be okay in that sense. The Vikings, they're a team with a lot of momentum right now. They're a team with a lot of momentum. The Packers have been okay, but I don't know if they're that good. I don't know how much I really trust Malik Willis. I mean, they've been able to get it done. He also doesn't throw very much. So I like the quarterback play a lot better for Minnesota. So I say they stay undefeated for another week.
The one thing I'll give you and why I was a little uncertain is not so much about Sam Darnold and company, but about the Vikings defense, because the Vikings defense has lost a number of players over the last few seasons, but somehow they still have managed to hold strong, especially when it comes to their two most recent opponents. So I'll give you that, Nick.
Yeah, I mean, look, Sam Darnold I may have said this last week, he may have played himself out of being a bust.
I don't know.
He's got to be like the only NFL player who has revived his reputation from being a bust.
I don't know.
I can't remember anybody else doing that.
It's only 3 weeks, though.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Like, don't get me wrong. He's played good football.
Yeah. And to be fair to Nick's point, too, that Sam Darnold has gone against two really good defenses in terms of Houston and San Francisco. So
yeah,
you could also make that as in terms of a case of like, yeah, it's only 3 weeks, but you could also have to take a look at the defenses that he's going against. And at least it's kind of a sample size and maybe he's coming out of it. I'm obviously not saying he's going to, but it's obviously some type of progression a lot better than maybe people might have thought. So
well think about it.
I think it's also better weapons.
He's been good, though, in good situations. That's the thing. He was good with the 49ers, and he's good with the Vikings. He was bad with the Jets, and he was bad with the Panthers.
Yeah. Well, on that note, Ben, since you chimed in, do you think the Vikings are going to pull off the upset here?
I mean, they're obviously having a great start. Their defense with Brian Flores has really been impressive. They brought in Andrew Van Ginkel and a bunch of guys. I will say, in terms of the Packers, And I obviously understand with Nick's point in terms of the Packers don't pass a lot, but it's really the Packers the last couple of weeks has been mostly because of their running game. And I think that they're going to continue with that with Malik Willis, and Matt LaFleur has done a really good job. I know Anthony's been talking about a lot about Matt LaFleur in terms of his game plan, that they're pretty much kind of changing the game plan that Jordan Love's been using with Malik Willis' strengths, and that's been running the football. And so I think specifically it's going to be a heavy run type of game like they've done the last couple of weeks. I mean, it's been working at least for the last couple of weeks. They've been scoring like 25 plus in terms of points per game. And I'm not saying that they're probably going to do that against defense like this. But it's, the Packers are at home. It can really kind of go honestly either way at this point in time with the way that both teams are playing. But since it's at home, and with the way that they're running the football, I think they're going to continue going with that. And so I'm going to go with the Packers here. Take the money.
And then, of course, they have Josh Jacobs. And if you're Josh Jacobs, man, you must be breathing a heavy sigh of relief, getting out of Vegas and now playing for a competitor like the Packers. Anthony Balser.
Yeah, this is a really, really hard game to pick. This game, kind of screams Vikings. The Vikings have a really nasty pass rush this year. I seen Jordan Love has been trying to practice. Maybe he plays. He's questionable. I think even if he does play having that lower body injury against the Vikings pass rush, I feel like that's a bad combination. Obviously, they're going to try to run the ball either way. If Malik Willis is in there, obviously they'll lean more on the run. If Jordan Love's in there, obviously I think they'll still try to run the ball to negate, Minnesota's pass rush. So this is a tough game. I said before with LaFleur, obviously he can coach up quarterbacks and you can make a quarterback look good for a week or two. But I think we're starting to get to the point where he's not going to be able to get Malik Willis too much further. I think we're about to see, the height of that. And it's about to, come back to, I think, haunt him. And I think this might be the game where they need, a healthy Jordan Love to win. The Vikings are firing on all cylinders. So even though I do want to pick the Packers, I'm going to have to go with the Vikings.
Okay. And Nick Morganson, finish this off.
Yeah, I can't believe I'm going to say this, but I agree with basically everything Nick D said right at the top. And we disagreed a ton last week on a lot of things.
He loaned up a lot last week.
Yeah, Sam Darnold actually has looked really good. He made me eat my words the last couple of weeks. So much so that I dropped two and I picked up Sam Darnold as a backup quarterback on my fantasy roster. And I might even start him over CJ Stroud this weekend. Possibly. We'll see if that actually happens. But when I look at the Vikings, everyone was questioning the team, the chemistry. Would they get along? Would they play together as a unit? Everyone was expecting J.J. McCarthy, big draft pick, come in, really lead this team. And Sam Darnold comes in and just almost like a 10-year vet and just leads this team. It almost feels a little bit like Joe Flacco, a little bit.
Like on a younger version?
Yes.
Yeah.
Sort of.
And it kind of changed the dynamic of everybody, including Justin Jefferson, who's made some incredible touchdown catches so far this year. Now, he's had a few injury scares so far this year. But I'm with Nick. I'm taking the Vikings as an upset. I just think they're playing better. I think the momentum, and I know they say in betting and spreads, you can't really look at momentum and if that really determines the game. But I just think the Vikings are the better team. I did look in a report a couple hours before we were recording this. Jordan Love is limited with an MCL sprain, so he's probably not going to play. So I think that turns it over automatically. So I'm taking the Vikings.
Like, this will be by far the toughest game that the Malik Willis Packers have played.
Yeah.
Agreed. Totally.
I think so far, I think of the first 5 or 6 games outside of that Eagles game in Brazil, I think Zan and I just a couple weeks ago, when Zan was sitting in for ETB Sports, we were trying to look at the schedule. I mean, the Packers have a lighter schedule, but this is now, especially considering that the Vikings are a 3-0 team, going to be one of the toughest, heaviest matchups of that schedule. And I think this is just going to be one of the toughest games to pick this week. I think that's why I picked this game, guys, to start things off, just because it's a rivalry game. It's going to be really competitive. It's really fun, and it can go either way. This is going to be one to watch.
I'm shocked they didn't put this into a later time slot, too.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody expected that. I mean, first of all, it's still an East Coast kind of. Obviously, they're in the Central, but,
And there's
What about
obviously
Eastern, then?
Chiefs and the Chargers. That's AFC
Ex-
divisional that stuff,
Exactly.
and even if Herbert doesn't play or not, they obviously kind of favor outside of that.
Well, we'll talk about Chiefs Chargers when we do the later window games. But moving on now, we're going to go over to Houston, as Nick Morgeson mentioned, losing to the Vikings in once again shocking fashion last week. CJ Stroud having the game from hell, probably one of the toughest, if not the toughest game of his NFL career, looking for a bounce back as they take on a Jaguars team where, well, as you kind of said last week, Nick Morgeson, Trevor Bank is not going as they expected. So Texans being a -6 favorite at home. Nick DiMartino, lead us off here.
Texans, they're playing at home. I like this as a bounce back game. And because the thing with the bounce back game is I believe in bounce back games for teams that are capable and for quarterbacks that are capable. I don't believe in it for the Jags because both these teams are sort of due for a bounce back. But the difference is the Texans are a capable team. CJ Stroud is at least a capable quarterback, whereas Trevor Lawrence is not, it looks like, and was a huge waste of money. And the Jaguars have been playing so bad lately. I mean, the Texans had one bad game. The Jaguars have been terrible. So it just like Trevor Lawrence, he can't even make routine. He's not even making routine throws.
Nick, I'm gonna say it's like the Trevor Lawrence year one under Urban Meyer. We said, okay, that was a fluke year because Urban Meyer was just terrible. But
he was spending too much time at the bars.
Yeah.
If
but
you remember that viral picture.
Yes.
But it feels like now that we're in the fourth year of Trevor Lawrence, the only thing that's consistent about him is inconsistency and his team.
Correct.
Yeah.
But he's not inconsistent. He's consistently bad. He's very consistent.
He's consistently inconsistent.
Correct. And that, my God, the Jaguars must have buyer's remorse.
Well, I think it was a jinx that you had to rename the naming rights for one game to Trevor Bank Stadium also.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to take I'm sorry for jumping in like this, but I'm going to take what Nick DiMartino was saying because he said some fiery things about the Jaguars. And I'm going to go one step further. This is my lock of the week, gentlemen.
Whoa.
Whoa.
I was making Houston as my lock of the week over Jacksonville. I know it didn't bode well for Pat last week, but honestly, we talk about the Vikings and the momentum that they have. The Jacksonville does not have any momentum whatsoever. You talk, Nick DiMartino, you talk about bounce back games. I really don't know if Jacksonville's bounce back game is going to come against a Houston Texans team that, while they've just announced that Tank Dell, I say just as of the time that we're recording this, is not going to be playing.
Nico Collins also might not play.
I just can't see Houston and CJ Stroud not having another good performance, especially against a team like Nick DiMartino was saying, that is just absolutely terrible. I have not seen – I had concerns about Jacksonville going into this season, and, I mean, it's worse than I expected. I know it's only been 3 weeks, but geez Louise, Trevor Lawrence can't pass anything to save his life. Nobody on that team has seemed to be doing anything significant, anything worthy. I mean, I'm not going to say that Jacksonville is going to be one of the worst teams in the NFL, but dear God, this is bad. This is an emergency style situation.
Like that Stephen A. Smith video. This is bad. This is very, very bad.
This is very, very bad. Bad.
Yeah, no, it's not a good look. So Houston is going to be my lock of the week, -6 against Jacksonville, even with a couple of missing pieces. I think Houston could win by a touchdown. I think that's more than capable. Nick Morgeson.
I mean, you beat me to it, but I was going to do it too, but you beat me to it. Yeah, the Texans should win this game. I know there's a lot of injuries going down. It looks like Tank Dell's not going to play. There are reports that Nico Collins might not play. Joe Mixon is a question mark, which I kind of hope he's not a question mark, a la fantasy. Hopefully he gets back on the field. But they still have a good running game without him there. But the Jaguars are so bad. It's really, really bad. Like, I agree with Nick that there's major buyer's remorse going on right now with Trevor Lawrence. I wouldn't have paid the guy. The guy has not won anything. What does he warrant this contract? I mean, The guy got the contract because that's what's up next. Whoever's the next quarterback in line gets paid. I mean, Justin Herbert got paid. What does he want? Zero. Nothing.
I take Justin Herbert over Trevor Lawrence, just in general.
Definitely.
But I'm just saying generally, what has Justin Herbert won? He's won nothing, but he got paid. So
to be fair, with Herbert, he's had a lot of bad coaching around him too.
That's true.
Brandon Staley was his head coach.
Yeah, if you put Justin Herbert in a different situation with decent coaching, I think
Brandon Staley's name is literally a punchline in the NFL world.
Nick D, don't get me started. You're gonna get me riled up against
But it's literally
again.
true.
Like
Everybody, I just said the name and you guys just started laughing. I wasn't even telling a joke.
No, I just laugh because his name is just hilarious because he did
everything. I was laughing because of all the rants that I had about Brandon Staley on last year's edition of the show.
Long story short, the Texans should win this game. Really, even with the injuries, they should win by more than a touchdown.
All right, Ben Cruz.
Well, you guys both beat me to it. I'm going to join the party.
Oh, shoot.
I think this is like 2 or 3 weeks that Ben and I have the same lock.
Well, I mean, we didn't hit us for us last week, so let's try to do it again together, I guess, this week, Tom, shall we? The Jaguars obviously have not been great, and the fact is, you guys have to remember, they lost to one of the worst teams the way that they're playing right now, the Cleveland Browns. The Jags are not scoring a ton of points. With the way that their offense should be scoring, they're not scoring a ton of points right now. Trevor Lawrence is completely – I mean, between him and Doug Peterson, I think we should have a really massive talk about Doug Peterson in terms of his overall job security when it's all said and done at the end of the season because it's not been great whatsoever. And I think with the Texans, regardless if they got some guys coming back or not, they're definitely going to score a lot more than 7 points for sure last week. Brian Flores has just been absolutely just cooking these offenses as of recently the last couple weeks. So I think that they get back on track in this week. The Jacksonville Jaguars secondary has not been great whatsoever. Josh Allen put up 4 touchdowns in the first half last week. So, yeah, this for me specifically, give me the money and also give me the luck.
All right. You mentioned Peterson's job potentially being on the line. I would not be surprised if, honestly, at the end of the season, Tony Khan decided, you know what? I'll run AEW and be the head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Why not?
You already hear about the potential speculation, potentially my old friend Bill Belichick. If he comes back,
Bill, don't do that to your career. Don't do that.
No, I don't think so. But he's definitely good. There's going to be a ton of teams that are going to want for Bill next year for sure.
Of course.
Well, Bill Belichick's an old guy, and Jacksonville is in Florida. So
damn it, you beat me to that joke.
You never know. I mean, it's northern Florida, but
All right, Anthony, what direction are you going with this one?
Yeah, this is an easy one. I'm going with the Texans. CJ Stroud's too good of a quarterback to have back-to-back, bad games like that. Even if they have injuries at the wide receiver position, I don't trust Jacksonville whatsoever anymore. I'm completely done with them. Nothing's going right for them. You could put all the blame on Trevor Lawrence, and rightfully so. He looks like he's lost all confidence. Honestly, ever since he had that second half surgence in the second year, the first year with Doug Peterson, where they made the playoffs, had that big, second half comeback against the Chargers, got a playoff win. Outside of that, Trevor Lawrence has been pretty mid, if not worse than that. Pretty much he got that contract based off that playoff win and because he was a generational quarterback coming into the league. But he lost a lot of confidence, and he doesn't have much help either. The running game at Travis Etienne has been, absolutely nothing. Been a no-show. The offensive line's been really, really bad, and the defense has been bad. And it looks like it's definitely a coaching problem. Doug Peterson seems like the team has lost all confidence in him because there is some talent on that defense. You got Travion Walker. You got Josh Allen Hines as pass rusher, and those guys, are good players, and they're absolutely, a dud. They're not, putting together any quarterback pressures or nothing. So, I think they got to, clean house, get rid of the coach. Obviously, you can't get rid of Trevor Lawrence because of that contract. So they're definitely going to clean house at the coaching position. So I'm not picking Jacksonville for probably the rest of the season. So give me the Texans to win and cover.
All right. Seems like it's an easy one that everyone is predicting. And you know what? Trevor Lawrence, if you're watching this program, if it all doesn't work out in the NFL, Tony Khan could probably sign you to an AEW contract.
Tom, really quickly, there was a Boston sports radio show that I was listening to. I listen to them a lot. He compared Trevor Lawrence as Daniel Jones with long hair.
Oh!
Honestly, so far for the first
I don't see it.
I don't think so. But
I
that's
don't
what
see it at all because Daniel Jones was not expected to be that good.
And honestly, for the first 3 weeks of this season, I would say Daniel Jones is a better quarterback.
It's not even his fault.
Yeah, yes.
I wouldn't even
that's
say
what
this
he's-
past
that's
week was
what he
his
said.
fault.
I'm obviously not going to say name, but I don't see the comp. But
I love how he just felt the need to just shade Daniel Jones like that.
I was
Just like Trevor Lawrence is so bad, he's just like Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones has nothing to do with anything. He just adds
No,
himself Daniel
Ben,
Jones.
you're better off shading Brian Dable, not Daniel Jones.
Oh no! I think Daniel Jones has been great. That's what specifically.
No, he hasn't been great.
I
He's
don't know
been
about.
pretty
I don't know
bad.
about.
I don't know about great.
He's actually been pretty bad. It's just funny better than Trevor Lawrence. It's just funny to me how it's like, oh, we got to compare everybody to Daniel Jones.
Well, I'm saying great specifically for his standards, and I don't think that his standards are that high. To be fair,
So I mean, by that logic, Christian Hackenberg was great because he was great by his standards. Throwing the ball into the ground was great by Christian Hackenberg's standards. You know?
I mean, Christian Hackenberg doesn't have a playoff win like Daniel Jones has, though.
I haven't heard that name in years.
Chris.
Oh.
All right. It's time to get off of all this talk about Daniel Jones and Trevor Lawrence and Jaguars and Texans and AEW. We're going to go to another Florida team, though. We're going to go over to Tampa Bay as they play host to the Philadelphia Eagles, who are a -2 favorite on the road. Let's start things off with Ben Cruz.
Yeah, so with the way that the Eagles have been playing, they had a really good, decent bounce back week last week, but they're still really struggling to kind of find their niche, especially with the way that Jalen Hurts has been playing. I think that the Eagles have been winning a lot, at least the first couple of weeks, despite the play of Jalen Hurts. And their coaching. Nick Sirianni went for on fourth down 3 times, including once in the first half when specifically they should have just taken the points at that point in time. So there's a lot of situation with our coaching there. And the Bucs, they obviously had a really tough week last week. The Broncos have a fairly decent defense, but I'm expecting them to bounce back. And I'm actually going to go with the upside here. I just have not liked the way that the Eagles have been playing, despite the fact they're 2-1. And they're going to be most likely without Devontae Smith, and potentially A.J. Brown is questionable as well, too. They've been using a ton with their running game, and I think the Buccaneers are really just going to stack the box. They're going to try to make Jalen Hurts throw the ball, in which he's been really struggling with the first couple weeks. So I think the Buccaneers are going to bounce back, especially because they don't have to travel again, because they're going to be back-to-back at home. So I'm going to go with the Bucs here at +2.
All right. Anthony.
Yeah, I'm going with the Buccaneers as well. The Eagles, with those injuries at wide receiver, it's going to be tough for them to win this game. That hit on Devontae Smith was brutal. That was a vicious hit and definitely uncalled for. And unfortunate for Devontae Smith, especially with A.J. Brown already being banged up. They don't have nothing at wide receiver outside of those two guys. So it's going to be tough for them to win. The Buccaneers coming off a huge embarrassing loss to the Denver Broncos. Obviously, they're needed in a bounce back win. And Nick D mentioned it before. He said teams that, bounce back are usually teams that got good quarterbacks and teams that are actually good. The Buccaneers are actually a good team. They made the playoffs last year, and Baker Mayfield is a competent quarterback. So I think the Buccaneers will bounce back in a big way, and I got the Buccaneers in this one.
Nick Morganson, are you continuing the upset train?
This is such a weird game because, again, the Eagles were supposed to be this juggernaut team.
Were they?
And what?
Were they?
They were supposed to be a really good team. They were supposed to be.
Of the 2022 to 20. They remind me of like the 2022 Mets a little bit.
Jalen Hurts was supposed to come out and have a big season, okay? And he looks awful so far. I mean, I know they've had the injuries. I like Anthony said, Devonta Smith and AJ Brown, and they have all the injuries. Saquon Barkley with the drops over the last week, and finally having to own that.
Castillo.
What?
Saquon Castillo.
Saquon Castillo. Like,
I'm surprised the announcers didn't go, drop the ball. He dropped the ball.
It's true. But Baker Mayfield hasn't looked 100% great by any standard either. Like, he's getting by. He's a gritty quarterback, and no, I don't mean the dance. I'm just talking about gritting by. But I think everyone has it right. I mean, the Bucs are the home team. I'm kind of surprised the Eagles are favored, I guess. So I I guess I'll go on the train and take the Bucks. I don't know how confident I am about it. I'm not confident about either side. Let's put it that way. But I guess I'll take the Bucks because they're at home.
Well, considering his role on the show last week, Nick DiMartino, I need to know if you're going to continue this train.
Let me guess. It's the road less traveled.
All right. So primarily because I'm not going to Atlantic City this weekend, I'm going with the Eagles. -2.
Called it.
And they're my lock of the week.
What?
Oh my God, I wasn't ready.
I hate how much I love the Eagles this game. Here's what I'll say. The Eagles haven't been 100% great. This pick in some ways might be more about the Bucks. I don't have a lot of confidence in the Bucks. It might be more about the Bucks than it is about the Eagles. But I will say this. This is the easiest game so far that the Eagles are going to be playing so far. Their first
Agreed.
3 games were all tough games. I mean, yeah, they lost to the Falcons. The Falcons are a good team. They just beat the Saints, and the Packers with Jordan Love are probably a playoff team if Jordan Love plays. So those are all 3 really tough games, relatively tough games. This is by far this has got to be the easiest one. So Jalen Hurts hasn't been great. I wouldn't say Baker Mayfield's been great either. He had a really good game against the Commanders, but the last 2 games were kind of duds.
He's been grinding it basically the last couple of games.
Baker Mayfield is what he is.
Mm-hmm.
He's a middle of the road quarterback, essentially.
He's a middle of the road quarterback who was a number 1 pick.
Got paid.
And got tackled by cops when he was in college.
Oh, jeez. Wow.
I mean, okay. I'm a little surprised because I feel like the momentum was taken from me because I was going to you thinking that maybe I was going to be the momentum breaker, and then you go and drop and make the Eagles your lock of the week. I mean, I'm picking Philadelphia.
Are you surprised they did that?
To pick them as the lock of the week? Yes.
I don't think he was surprised that you took them as the favorite.
Well, Tom, as Nick said, I think he's doing it more in spite because of the Bucks than
Yeah, I don't believe in the Bucks.
Well, I will agree with you that I think this is so far the easiest game that Philadelphia is going to have, and that I think Baker, as both of you Knicks were saying, that he is a grinding kind of quarterback, and the last couple of weeks, he's had his ups, but at the same time he's had his downs. And while Jalen Hurts has not played exactly great, at the same time, Saquon Barkley, other than a case of a drops that he has managed to run ramshot over some of his opposition. I think the Eagles, it's going to be a gritty victory. Nick was mentioning gritty before. It is going to be a gritty kind of victory, a gritty kind of game, but I think Philadelphia just barely is able to take the money to cover the spread on this one.
Right. Like, I'm not saying I think Philly's going to blow him out. I think it's going to be I think it's going to be a tough game for Philly, but 2 points is just picking outright, basically.
It could be similar to the Eagles-Saints game, theoretically, from last week.
The only games that consistently don't end in the only games that don't consistently end 3 points or more are Iowa State games. Those are the ones that end like 18-17. I don't think that's going to happen here.
I was going to say, if the Eagles actually win this game, you might see them doing the gritty after this game.
Oh, jeez. And just so that way, Nick D and myself don't feel too bad, Zan also is picking the Eagles, not as his lock of the week though, but so there is a bit of split, I'm saying, around this network about this game. All right, it's time for a couple of fast track picks here. Speaking of Zan, his Chicago Bears are going to be in action taking on the LA Rams. The Bears are -3 favorite at home, and the Rams, gentlemen, just continuing to deal with injury after injury. The Bears themselves are a little banged up, but the Rams just completely banged up. It's sad to see. Ben Cruz, start us off on this one.
Yeah, the Bears, as of recent, Caleb Williams, I think, has just had a really hard time with, holding on to the football, and he's had a ton of turnovers. The Rams obviously are coming off of a really emotional game against the Niners last week. I know that they're going to be without Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua, but something tells me I'm going to go with another upset here. I'm going to take the Rams in this one. I think Sean McVay is going to be able to have a good game plan against this Bears team. The Bears, I think, they're pretty young as a team overall, and I think for the Rams specifically, they're going to find a way. I don't think it's going to be a blowout. I think it's going to be a close game, but I think that I'm going to go with the Rams here at +3.
All right, Anthony.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Bears to win and cover this one. I think the Bears defense is just too good, especially with the Rams, injuries on offense. Yes, the Rams did win, but it was a division game, and like I always said, division games could go either way. So I'm not going to take too much on that. Obviously, Matthew Stafford played a good game. Obviously, Sean McVay's a great coach, and he can coach you up against a division foe that he knows pretty well. But those injuries are going to really hurt him in this one. So I think the Bears defense will be able to shut them down. So I'm going to go with the Bears.
All right, Nick Morrison.
So I look at the 3 games that they played. They lost to the Lions. That was a very close game. That was before all the injuries. Then they get pounced on by Arizona. Absolutely pounced on. Then they go up against a team that's just as injured as them in the 49ers, and they somehow pull out that game. So, in my opinion, they should be 0-3 right now. And so I don't know what to think of this team at the current moment. I don't like the Bears 100% the way they're constructed. Caleb Williams definitely needs some work. He had a big game, but Tom, what I say all the time, when a quarterback throws for 50-plus times, it's usually a disaster, like big time, because that means you're trying to throw more. You're not getting the running game involved. You're not doing enough to get the offense in line. The defense has saved them a few times now, but I think the Rams are so injured between Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua being out. You have no wide receiver core, and I think the Bears are a much better defensive competition for the Rams. So I'm going to take the Bears to cover. I wasn't doing this originally, but now I'm going to take the Bears to cover.
Yeah, I mean, no disrespect to Tutu as well, and Demarcus Robinson, but I mean, the Rams offense is just nothing without Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua involved. Pardon me. And the Bears, you guys were saying, their success is in the defense. It's simple math, guys. Strong Bears defense and special teams plus weak LA Rams offense equals victory at home for the Bears, regardless of how Caleb Williams performs, regardless if he has all of his receivers. This is going to be one of those games where the Bears win it on their defense and special teams. So give me the Bears. I'm taking the money on them. And Nick D.
I'm going with the Rams. The thing is, I'm taking the upset. I'm taking them to win outright. And it's not about the Rams. I completely agree with everything you said about the Rams. It's the whole Caleb Williams thing. I think they're a little bit too reliant on him. I feel like the Rams are going to force turnovers on him. And I just don't think the Bears are that good. I think there were high expectations for them, but I don't think they're that good right now.
Even with the wide receiver room being as bad as it is right now?
The problem is, and I agree with Nick, they can't run the football. DeAndre Swift hasn't been able to do much with running the football, and they're relying too much on the passing attack. If you're a quarterback that's supposed to be thrown as a rookie specifically 40, 50 times, that's just not a good recipe for success.
Well, right.
They just threw the ball 37. Caleb Williams threw the ball 52 times against the Colts.
Well, right. I said that was a recipe for disaster, throwing that many times. Because
he probably won't. It won't be that bad this time. But the point is, I think their offense is just too reliant on Trevor Lawrence.
Okay.
Right.
I mean Caleb Williams, whatever you call him, whatever his name is.
We have another game we're going to fast track here, although very close game on the spreads here. The Steelers at the Colts. The Steelers a 1.5-point favorite on the road in Indy. Anthony, you can lead us off on this one.
Yeah, I still don't fully trust, Steelers offense. Even though Justin Fields has had his good moments, but obviously, you can't trust the Colts offense either. Anthony Richardson almost threw that game away multiple times last week. Made me nervous because I think I picked the Colts, so it made me a little nervous a few times. And obviously, I do think Anthony Richardson, I said he's got the talent. And if he does put it all together, he's going to be a tough guy to stop. But a quarterback that's still young and developing and that has turnover issues going up against T.J. Watt and the Pittsburgh Steelers, I can't pick against that. So I'm going to go with the Steelers in this one.
Nick Morrison.
Yeah, I essentially agree with everything Anthony said. I think T.J. Watt and that defense is going to take apart Anthony Richardson. You also don't know which Colts team you're going to get every week. You might get a good team one week, you get a really bad team one week, then you might get a semi in the middle team. Is anyone else shocked, by the way, that the Steelers are undefeated so far at the beginning of the season? I certainly am.
They're doing great with Justin Fields. It's amazing to see.
I'm surprised, but I'm also not surprised for the same reason, because TJ Watt is healthy. When TJ Watt is out there defensively, they tend to win a lot of games.
Yeah, but they're also coming to games. Justin Fields is not blowing it away offensively, but he's doing enough to get this team to score points, which is the most important thing. And by the way, Russell Wilson, who at this point, I mean, I think this is Tom Brady, Drew Bledsoe all over again.
Russell Wilson is like the reverse Sam Darnold.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And I don't even have to elaborate on that. He basically is.
Wait. Do you guys know where Russell Wilson is right now? He's riding all right. He's riding the best.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm with Anthony on this one. I'm taking the money too.
All right, gentlemen, simple math equation. Inconsistent, troubled Colts offense plus healthy TJ Watt, strong Steelers defense equals Steelers win. Take the money.
Yeah.
I only needed math equations for 2 straight picks. Nick DiMartino.
Yeah, Steelers. Anthony Richardson has been terrible. The Steelers have been surprisingly good. I can't really say anything that you guys didn't already say, but Steelers. This should be easy. I don't trust the Colts at all.
Ben Cruz.
Wait. I just want to say one thing. Can we put out an all points bulletin for Michael Pittman? Because the guy has been gone for forever so far this season.
Is he on Where's Waldo?
We're gonna see him on the field with the white and red stripes now. Ben Cruz, are you going clean sweep here?
I am. I think with the way that the Steelers defense has been playing TJ Watt, they're just doing really, really well, causing turnovers and just kind of playing their overall style of play. I don't think they've really been winning a lot of games just with their passing attack, the Steelers are. But I think with the way that this Colts team is and with the way that Anthony Richardson's been very up and down with turn the ball over a lot so far, I'm going to go with the Steelers here to cover at 1.5.
All right, Nick Morgeson, you're going to lead us off for this next game. It's the Cincinnati Bengals. It's only your favorite team who's 0-3 right now on the road against the Carolina Panthers, who are now being led by old man Andy Dalton, who managed to come out firing last week. The Bengals a 4.5-point favorite. Oh, man, am I curious to see what you think of this game.
I mean, all I could say is I told everybody on this show last week, I said the Commanders are going to come out and they're just going to take down the Bengals. It was a close game, by the way. Don't get me wrong. But I don't know what's going on with Burrow and the offense. And they even had Chase and was T. Higgins back? I don't even remember. So it felt like he wasn't there, actually. But I don't know. I'm on the fence with this one again. I didn't think I was going to be. But you know what? I'm going to upset it again. I'm taking the Panthers.
Oh, my God.
Well, I mean, Andy Dalton surprised me. Andy Dalton surprised me with 212 yards in the first half this past game against the Raiders. Now, don't get me wrong. The Raiders are not a great team by any stretch. But if Andy Dalton can come out and have a decent first half and the Bengals are trailing, I think we're heading for another loss for the Bengals.
I mean, I will say this. It is always something. And we talked about this on ETB Sports, Nick. This was a point that you made. It is, this is more about Bryce Young, though. It is always something, and something really noticeable, when you make a quarterback switch, and then all of a sudden, it seems like everything starts to get into gear. All of a sudden, it's upward momentum.
It looked like a completely different team without him, with him out there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that makes sense.
It looked like people wanted to catch the football for a change.
Well, he's not. He's a step up over Bryce Young.
That's scary.
Yeah, this David Tepper is becoming like James Dolan. The James Dolan.
Well, at least James Dolan isn't pouring beer over his fans in the stadium.
No, but he is banning them from Madison Square Garden. So
Okay, that's a good
That's
point.
true. David Tepper doesn't have spyware that he uses to ban people from Bank of America Stadium.
Nick D, as I need a minute to recover, you take this.
Okay. I'm going with the Bengals -4.5, even though I hate it. I don't think the Bengals are going to go 0-4. But the thing is, I will say, even though they lost to the Commanders last game, Joe Burrow had a really good game.
He's been good the last couple of weeks.
They
It's been
didn't
more
lose
of the
because of Joe Burrow.
The defense killed them.
Yeah.
And I think Andy Dalton had a bit of a fluke of a game.
Agreed.
In a sense.
Yeah.
But I'm going with the Bengals -4.5.
And the sad part is you guys are both making all points that I agree with. I think the big concern with me is not about the Bengals offense. It's that Bengals defense. It is scary. It feels like burnt toast. And I think while Andy Dalton, I may agree with you guys saying that he has a fluke of a game. I don't think he's going to have as dominant of his game as it is. I mean, the Bengals defense being weak brings me a little bit of a concern that he can still have another decent game. So, boys, just like how I'm in the middle of the two of you here, I am going middle here. I don't think the Bengals are going to go 0-4. I don't see it, especially a team like Carolina. At the same time, I don't think the spread gets covered. I think it would be the way that Cincinnati has played this season. It would be typical of them to only win by like 2 or 3 points.
You could see this coming down to like a game-winning field goal by the Bengals
Yeah.
or something, right?
Exactly. Ben.
Yeah, I'm riding the same train right now with you, Tom. I think that the Panthers, I don't think are going to have the same type of game they had last week, but I also don't think that the Bengals are going to go win this, for another game. And I think that Joe Burrow hasn't been the problem. I know week 1 he wasn't great, but the last couple of games has been actually really good. It's been more of their defense, in which they're just giving a ton of yardage. Andy Dalton specifically, they did lose Adam Thielen, I believe last game. So that's a massive, I wouldn't say like a massive loss, but it's just a weapon for, their Carolina team if they have really much of anything. I know that Chuba Hubbard's been all right with them, but it's like, I think that Andy Dalton's going to be kind of coming back a little bit to earth, especially because the Bengals know him too. It's like a, revenge almost type of game for them. But I think that, the Bengals win, but I think the Panthers will cover the points. But it's going to be one of those games that I think like the Bengals just need to get it like on track for something. So yeah, I'm going to go the Bengals here, but the Panthers to take the points.
That's a scary thought that the Bengals, for momentum, not to go 0-4, need a must-win game against the Panthers.
Carolina, yeah. Anthony.
Yeah, obviously, we got to shout out Nick Morganson. He's been, right on the ball and right on the money when it comes to the Cincinnati Bengals all year long. But definitely, last week, I think it was me and Pat were the only ones that had any faith in the Carolina Panthers. Now, Pat went all the way saying the Panthers are going to win. I didn't say they would win, let alone blow out. But I did say that the Raiders wouldn't cover the points. I said Andy Dalton would play really well, and their offense will look much improved. So I was definitely 100% right on that. And when it comes to the Bengals, I did say it would be Jamar Chase's sort of breakout game. He would obviously play a lot better, and he definitely did. He caught that touchdown. But, man, the Bengals defense really let him down. It looks like some of those players that they lost over the years, has definitely started to come, to hurt the Bengals. So they got some stuff to figure out. I was, confident in the Panthers, but now this week I'm on the complete opposite end. Not only do I think the Bengals are going to win, but they're going to be my lock of the week.
Oh,
okay.
So, obviously I don't trust their defense, but I definitely think that they'll be improved against the Panthers. I don't see the Bengals going 0-4, and on the flip side, I don't see the Panthers going 2-2. Can you imagine? Who would have thought that if the Panthers win this game that they'd be 500? That's absolutely insane. Most people didn't think they'd win 2 games all season, let alone to win 2 out of the first 4. So
Yeah.
I don't think either of those things happening.
they're making me eat my words already.
I was going to say, I think I had them going 0-4 to start the season. I don't think I had them winning a game in September.
I think I had them winning 2 or 3 games, period.
I think so. Yeah, I think so. All right, moving on now to another divisional game.
This is a good one.
Yeah, really good one. Saints and the Falcons. The Falcons, a -2.5 favorite. I'll start things off. I mean, the Saints did not have the explosivity of their offense that they had in the first 2 weeks
Oh,
of the
you mean the
season.
40+ points per?
Yeah, but at the same time, they still played competitive football against the Eagles. And Nick, and Morganson, as you mentioned earlier, the Eagles barely managed to get it out against New Orleans. They still played a tough game, and there's a chance, if momentum had swung another way, we would be talking about the 3-0 Saints team. Falcons, I mean, played close competitive football with the Chiefs, but it feels like, I don't know, guys, it feels like the Chiefs seem to be that way, that they have played close competitive games. They let their opponents in and managed to win in the fourth quarter, because that's all that it's happened with the Chiefs so far. We'll talk about them in a little bit with the Chargers, but I mean, the Falcons, it's still kind of disappointing. They're barely, if any, breaking 20 points. And you think with, Arthur Smith gone, all of a sudden all the problems were gonna relieve themselves. But no, we still have some issues with them trying to score. Maybe it's because they face tough opponents. I don't know. So as much as this is a divisional game, maybe a try to get right game, I just don't see it. I think the Saints are going to taste a little, they're going to have a chip on their shoulder coming up just short against the Eagles, come out firing on all cylinders. I'm going to upset city here, fellas. I'm going for New Orleans. Nick DiMartino.
I completely agree with you.
There you go.
I'm going with the Saints plus 2.5 and the upset. I think the Saints, Derek Carr is having Derek Carr is one of those quarterbacks who is usually mediocre, but occasionally has like a really good year, like an MVP type year, like in 2016 and 3 years ago. So every 3 to 5 years he has that year. It looks like it right now. It looks like he's having that type of year this year. I mean, and by the way, they went on the road and put up 44 points against the Cowboys. So this is like a high-powered offense right now. And they seem to be a really good road team.
For sure. Ben Cruz.
Yeah, I'm going to go here with Atlanta. I think they have a bounce back. They were right there against the Chiefs last week. And I know that the Saints are dealing potentially with some injuries, especially at the receiving front. Alvin Kamara, I know he's not a wide receiver, but he's one of the guys that Derek Carr uses a lot. He's questionable, I believe, as well as Chris Olave. So, I mean, the Saints could probably be okay because of their defense against Kirk Cousins. But I think that, the Falcons, I think they're going to pull this game out. I think it's going to be close. Those, like Anthony was mentioning, division games are always close. But I think the Falcons are going to have a bounce back. I feel like that's been kind of the term we've had all show is the bounce back game. So I'm going to go with the Falcons here to bounce back, and I have them take the money.
All right. Anthony Bouncer.
Yeah, this is going to be a very important game. Obviously, division game. One team in the Saints is 2-1. The Falcons are 1-2. So essentially, if the Falcons can win this game, they'll have the same record as the Saints, and they'll obviously have the tiebreaker. So this is a huge game for the Falcons. They've been really close in all their games, and we've been kind of waiting, to see what game is the Falcons going to finally gel. Usually, sometimes when you have a new quarterback go to a new team with new players, sometimes it takes a few weeks to gel. I remember when Tom Brady went to the Buccaneers, it took him a few weeks to finally start getting everything on the same page. So I do think the Falcons will eventually, get on a rhythm. The Falcons were my preseason pick to win their division. And like I said, they had a lot of close games, a lot of heartbreaks. The Saints are dealing with a lot of injuries, like Ben said. So I do think the Falcons, really, really need to win this game, and they really need to prove that their offense can fire on all cylinders. And Bijan Robinson and Drake London, Kyle Pitts, Kirk Cousins, they all need to start gelling together. I think it's going to start with this game. So I'm going to go with the Falcons in this one.
Nick Morganson, tiebreaker.
So, again, looking at the schedule for the Falcons should be 0-3. The only reason they beat the Eagles is they got very lucky to get the ball back and to get on that game-winning drive. The Eagles should have won that game hand and fist. We shouldn't even be talking about them having a win on their record whatsoever. In the Chiefs game, they played okay. Everyone said they should have won that game. I don't think they played great by any means. And I also think it's unacceptable that they lost to the Steelers in week 1. Because I think the Falcons are a better team. I look at the Saints, as it was mentioned already, the Saints have injuries. I think Kamara has a rib injury, if I'm not mistaken. I think that he was dealing with all week. Olave's had the injury. He went down towards the end of last week's game. I'm not the biggest Derek Carr fan, though, either. I just don't like his style. I don't like his game. Everyone says like he could be a potential like big time quarterback MVP. I just don't see it.
No.
Just not my cup of tea.
I don't go that far.
But I'm on the fence. I want to say the Falcons are going to bounce back because I just think they're a better team. But I'm actually going to go with the Saints, and I'm going to take the upset because the Kirk Cousins factor for me. Okay? And people got mad at me because I went on social media after the game and I said, well, gee, didn't win primetime game. Again, big shocker. And people got mad, like, oh, look at his record. Look at his record. Okay, he doesn't win primetime games. I don't want to hear it
Until
anymore.
last week.
So what? It's one game. It's one game to me. He hasn't proven to win a big game, period, in his career.
But has
Okay.
Derek Carr either?
No, I'm not a big Derek Carr guy, just style-wise, stylistically.
They're both very mid.
Right. So
Wait, is this game the Battle of Mid?
it's the battle of mid. So in that case, I guess I'm just going to lean on the Saints just because I'm not a big Kirk Cousins guy. So just take the Saints in the
Greater
upset.
mid, I guess you would take it.
Yeah.
All right, now Nick Borgeson, I really get to torture you. Why am I playing this music? Well, because it's the official theme song of this game. It's the Broncos and the Jets. The Jets are 7.5-point favorite at home. It's a shame that Broncos country Let's Ride memes are kind of dead at this point because of Russell Wilson no longer being on the team. But we did talk about Russell Wilson passing the torch from Broncos country. Let's ride to your favorite guy, Nick.
RELAX.
Yeah. I'm getting tired of that by now.
You start us off though, because this is two of your favorites, especially the Jets.
You're going to be shocked by this, but I'm actually taking the Jets to cover.
Hey, look at you.
Because I don't know what to make of the Broncos at this point. Again, I'm on the record with this. I'm not a Bo Nix guy whatsoever. And I don't know what to make of the Broncos currently. Like, do we know? Like, do we have any idea what this team is? Because I look at their games. They lost to Seattle. That was whatever. They lost to Pittsburgh. And they got a win at Tampa Bay, which was kind of a shocking score very early in the first half. Again, I don't trust Aaron Rodgers 100%. I know he came out and he's played halfway decent. Let's just hope. I hope the hook doesn't bite all of us, whoever takes the cover. But for now, I'm taking the Jets to cover.
No. I think we should change the sound effect for this one. You're taking the Jets. You're taking the money.
RELAX.
I hope I'm relaxing at the end of this game.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, Nick, I actually really agree with you. I have no idea what to make of the Broncos, and I still am riding high on the Jets. I know there are little concerns from you about this team, but I still think that the Jets, especially with all that Miami is going through, I mean, in my opinion, this division, the AFC East, is going to be a two-team race between Buffalo and the Jets. Mm-hmm. So I am going to also go with Mr. RELAX and take the money on this one.
RELAX.
Nick DiMartino.
Yeah, love the Jets. I love the Jets this game. I could see the Jets doing something similar to what they did to the Patriots. The Broncos are a really bad team. This is one of the games that I haven't been too stressed about as a fan. This is one of the.
That's
one of
impressive.
I am not impressed with Bo Nix or the Broncos. They suck.
Just gotta flat out right say it.
Wait,
look, you gotta
wait a minute.
Wait a minute. Bad teams. What am I gonna?
Wait, did you say suck?
You suck.
All right.
RELAX.
There we go. Ben Cruz.
Yeah, I typically I'm not always hopeful. I mean, this is not me being a Patriots fan, but with like the Jets being confident in terms of winning, a game like this. But yeah, I'm gonna go with the Jets here to cover. I think that the Broncos, it's been a really mystery box, I would say, kind of a team. I don't think they're gonna be scoring as much points like they did against Tampa Bay. I think the Jets have a much better defense than Tampa Bay as well, too. And Aaron Rodgers, I thought, was really good last week against us. And I think that he continues it. I think that he's just going to keep on using the weapons that he has. Breece Hall, Garrett Wilson, Al Lazard's obviously been really good so far. So, yeah, I'm going with the Jets here. Take the money.
RELAX.
Oops.
Anthony.
Yeah, last week everything went, perfect for the Broncos. Everything went their way. Sometimes you see when you get a rookie quarterback, maybe once in a while during the season, they'll have a game where everything will go their way. It seems like that was this week for the Broncos. I don't think it'll probably happen again the rest of the year. Obviously, from my preseason video, I'm super high on Aaron Rodgers and the Jets this season. They got two good running backs. I really like the 20-year-old in Braylon Allen. He's solid. Obviously, they do need to get some wide receiver options to step up outside of Garrett Wilson, but they're playing the Broncos, so this is going to be an easy one. The Jets are going to win, and they're going to cover.
RELAX.
All right. And just for the record, just because, I'm going to take it one step further with our clean sweep. Nick, don't play that sound effect, but you can play the lock sound effect because this is going to be Zambando's lock of the week here. He has the Jets over with the -7.5.
I think that's crazy, but I'm fine with covers. I don't know about locks.
Of course. All right, let's go over to the 4 o'clock window now. We got the Commanders at the Cardinals. We're going to speed through a bunch of these games, but this is probably the most interesting one. Well, we have a few interesting ones, but this is probably the most interesting one with the short -3.5 line. Jaden Daniels coming off the week that he had against Cincinnati, playing against Kyler Murray and Arizona, who at one point did look very strong. You mentioned the game a couple of weeks ago. Nick DiMartino, start us off with this one.
I like the Cardinals this game. People are always like down on the Cardinals and everything, but I really don't think they're all that bad. They lost. They just destroyed the Rams. They lost. They're 1-2. They lost to the Bills and they lost to the Lions.
Mm-hmm.
Like those aren't such bad losses. Like those are actually some of the best losses you can get. They almost beat the Bills. Actually, like came close to beating the Bills. And they were in the game against the Lions for a while, so they're not all that bad. And they're playing at home against, and even though Jaden Daniels has been very good, he's still an inexperienced quarterback. So I just don't get the whole why everybody's so down on the Cardinals.
You're forgetting one factor though. McBride is out with a concussion.
Yeah, I know, but still.
It's a big factor for them.
Could be. I don't know. I don't know
how much take the money.
What are you
but
taking?
I still like Arizona.
Okay. Thank Cruz.
Hi. So I love the Cardinals too. I think with the Commanders team specifically, Jaden Daniels had a great week last week, but I think that he is bound to have I want to say a disappointing game, but I think that the Cardinals, they're staying at home. And the Commanders have to travel out west. And I think with a game like this just kind of tells me that the Cardinals at 3.5, it's going to be a close game. But I think Kyler Murray, too, for the most part, hasn't been awful. I think that he's been serviceable enough. And Marvin Harrison has definitely started to ball out, too, which is great to see for Cardinal fans. So, yeah, I'm going to go with the Cardinals here. Take the money.
Anthony Valser.
Yeah, not only has both these teams looked good, this game's going to be exciting either way. Jaden Daniels versus Kyler Murray, that's got to be two of the more exciting quarterbacks in the National Football League. So this game's definitely going to be very exciting. Jaden Daniels, how much better can you play for our rookie quarterback? Some of those plays he was making against the Bengals were phenomenal. He was staying in the pocket, making throws, even though he had a guy, bearing down on him, taking the hit, making the good pass. For a guy that, is super, super athletic, he could throw the ball pretty well, as well. So, the guy has a super, amount of potential. I'm not saying, we could have a repeat of what we had last year, but, maybe the second quarterback taken in the draft might be better than the first quarterback in Caleb Williams. But we got a lot of games, to figure that out. It's way too soon to say that right now. But, yeah, like Nick DiMartino said, the Cardinals have been a really good team. They've been, really in it in all their games. I like the Cardinals in this one. Yes, they are going up against a rookie quarterback, Even if Trey McBride's out, I understand that's a huge loss. Him and Marvin Harrison are their top options, receiving options. But I still think the Cardinals will win, and the Cardinals are a good team this year. So give me the Cardinals as well.
Nick?
Yeah, I think I don't understand what some of the disrespect of the Commanders. Really, I think they've actually played way better than people give them credit for. Don't get me wrong, the Cardinals have played great. Marvin Harrison Jr. finally came to the table and showed that he can put up receiving yards. That first half, what was that? Last week, the first half that he had 130 yards and a touchdown. I mean, the guy was a beast. Like he showed finally, and Kyler Murray finally showed that he could get the ball to him after missing in the Bills game that throw that was wide open, and they could have won that game too. But Tom, if you could do me a favor, in the banners all the way down on the bottom, I put a banner in there. Don't disrespect the Commanders. I'm going to do that this year because I think the Commanders are a much better team than people give them credit for. I'm taking the Commanders on an upset here because I think they're playing way better than people give them credit for. Jaden Daniels has looked awesome. He's able to get out of the pocket, something that division doesn't seem to understand, that you actually have to move your feet and not have cement feet when it comes to actually moving. And I think that somehow Jaden Daniels figures this out and goes on the road and gets the upset victory.
Okay. I mean, first of all, Nick Morgeson, you should be receiving something in the mail very soon, and it is a cease and desist notice from me, which tells you to stop infringing on my what is it? I'd say not my copyright, but on my gimmick of don't disrespecting a team. You are right that the Commanders should not be disrespected because they have played pretty well. I just feel more confident with the Cardinals offense. You know, even if Trey McBride is not there, Marvin Harrison, as you said, finally coming to the table. I still believe James Conner can be a great running back, and I think there are opportunities for him to show that, especially in a game like this. So I am going to. The half kind of scares me. I'm going to go thumbs middle. I'll go Cardinals. I think this one's going to be a very close game that it's only going to end in a 1 or 2 point difference.
Or you can see this as a field goal game.
Yeah, actually, yeah, you could because technically that's only the 3 points. So I'll go Cardinals, but I'll go Cardinals no cover because I will show my respect a little bit to Washington, begrudgingly after, because I'm still mad about week 2.
Oy.
Ben Cruz, start us off on this fast track. We got 3 fast tracks in a row, gentlemen. The Patriots are traveling to San Francisco. We have our first double-digit spread of the season. San Fran is a -10 favorite. Ben.
Okay, so it's not even me, myself, being biased here whatsoever, but I don't have the Patriots win this game at all. But I do feel like that number, if it was like in the 6s or the 7s, I would definitely for sure go Niners cover. That 10 is really big. And the Patriots defense, I think as well, will not have the same type of game that they had last week. And they also have a ton of time on their hands because they did play on Thursday from last week. So I do think that there's a lot that the Patriots are going to be able to do to keep this game close. Another thing, too, is the Niners have been very banged up. So I think that the Patriots might be getting them at a really good time. I obviously think that the Niners are just a much better team than we are, don't get me wrong. But I do think that 10 points right there, I think that the Patriots can definitely keep it under there. So I'm going to go here with the Niners to win. But I think the Patriots are going to find a way to cover this game. And I think it's going to be close in the first half, but I think the Niners are going to pull away in the second half. They don't have McCaffrey. Debo currently is on the injury report. And Brock Purdy was also battling something throughout the week. I don't think it's obviously going to affect him. But I do think this Patriots defense is going to be able to keep them in the game, at least for the most part. And they'll come up short, but I think they're going to play hard. So I'm going to take the Niners here, but the Patriots to take the points.
Anthony, do you agree? Is this spread too big?
No, I think the 49ers are going to win, and I think they're going to cover the spread. I think after, losing that, close game to the Rams and letting the Rams come back, I think they're going to be pretty pissed off, and, they're not going to take their foot off the gas, and they're going to really go out there with something to prove. I understand they got a lot of stuff going on. I've even seen some stuff on, Twitter, or now, known as X. Brandon Ayuk and Kyle Shanahan going back and forth at practice a little bit. So you never know what's going on with this team right now. You got a lot of big personalities on that team, a lot of great players, and they're trying to win. And some players are also trying to get paid. So that's caused a lot of issues. But I think the 49ers are bound and due to come out and have a statement win. They've been looking for it all year. I know they still have some injuries, but I think this is a perfect game for them to go out there and have a statement win, show everybody that they still are the 49ers. So I got the 49ers big in this one.
Nick Morgan.
I actually agree with Ben on this one. I think that the spread is too big. Excuse me. I think that, and Tom, you and I are usually on the track with this, double-digit spreads are tough to take covers on. They've always been tough to take covers on. Mm-hmm. I'm scared a little bit because the Niners are coming off a lot of injuries. They still don't have McCaffrey, so they don't have their running game. I know they have Jordan Mason, I understand, but he's come back down to earth a little bit since that huge game he had. I think the Patriots defense is actually better than we give them credit for, actually. And we need to not think that they're invisible and they actually exist. The offense, totally different story. I just don't see any participation on the offensive end, to be quite honest. But what have the Niners done? I mean, their offense is a question mark to me with some of the injuries. Is Debo back? I have no idea if Debo's back. I know he was hurt.
I don't think so.
Kittle is coming off a gruesome injury last week. Who knows if he's 100%? So I have a lot of questions on the offensive end. They will win. That's not the issue I have here. I don't think they cover. I think this is Patriots plus 10, but the 49ers win.
I am going to be in agreement with Ben and Nick Morganson. I'm going to take the 49ers, but I'm just a little bit too scared right now. I'm not scared of them for the sake of the Patriots. I'm scared for the sake of, as Anthony said, the little turmoil going on behind the scenes. And as Nick Morganson said, banged up players everywhere. Debo, what's going on with him? Trent Williams, also questionable for this week. Kittle is a question mark. Bosa had that scare when it came to the Minnesota game where he and was it Jefferson clashed? Yeah.
And also, Kyle Shanahan came out and said that they lost linebacker Curtis Robinson to a torn ACL in Thursday's practice.
Oh, okay. Robinson, that would have to be then done for the season. There's just a lot. And you mentioned Kittle earlier. There's just too many injuries.
Too many question marks.
Too many question marks that I can confidently pick the 49ers, if this was, say, a survivor pool and I'm only focused on win-loss. But I can't do it with a double-digit spread and all these question marks around the team. So I'm going to go 49ers, no cover. Nick DiMartino, finish this off.
Yeah, I agree. 49ers, no cover. The Patriots defense really isn't all that bad. I think the Patriots are not going to win a lot of games, but they're a little better than I expected them to be early in the season. I think there are some teams that are a lot worse than them. They're the worst team in the AFC East, or maybe now second worst team in the AFC East. But yeah, I mean, the Niners, right now they're too injured. All their playmakers are either out or questionable. So even if Debo does play, which I don't think he is playing, I could be wrong about that. Even if he does,
it's questionable.
Okay, he's questionable. So even if he plays, how much of an impact can he make? And with all these injuries, the Niners just aren't the same team right now. From the way they look, there are not a lot of teams that they could cover a 10-point spread against. I don't know if they could cover a 10-point spread against anybody. So I'd like them to win, but I don't. They can't. They're not going to make this a 2-score game.
Going on now over to the Kansas City Chiefs. This week's adventure is traveling over to the West Coast to take on the LA Chargers in LA. Anthony, what do you think of this one?
Yeah, I'll be quick with this one. If Justin Herbert was fully healthy, I may go with the Chargers in the upset, especially since the way the Chiefs have looked, having a lot of close games that they definitely could have lost. But with Justin Herbert dealing with injuries, potentially playing, potentially not playing, I can't pick them against the Chiefs. It is a pretty high point spread for a road division game. So, but I just don't trust the Chargers quarterback situation if Herbert's limited at all. So I'm going to go with the Chiefs in this one to win and cover.
Nick Morganson.
Yeah, so I'm looking at the injury updates for questionables. Justin Herbert, Christian Fulton, Jasar Taylor, Joe Alt, Darius Davis, Dean Leonard, and Joey Bosa is out for the Chargers.
Bosa's out.
Yeah, so that's on the official injury report that Bosa is out, so that's going to affect them defensively. Yeah, this one's easy. I'm taking the Chiefs to cover. I understand. I know the Chiefs have played a ton of close games, and everyone's still getting on the refs gave them a call. No, they got that call right, and I'm going to stay on that track for the whole season. This is going to be a much larger victory for the Chiefs this time around. This one's I'm confident in this one.
My gut was originally going into this thinking to just go Chiefs no cover, considering the way that the Chiefs have played and the way that the scores of their first 3 games has been. The first 3 scores have been. Having said that, no Bosa, banged up Justin Herbert. I don't know if I can do it with this one. I think this one should be a clear Chiefs victory. And if it's not, then I don't know how we can, trust the Chiefs to cover a spread in most of their matchups for the rest of this year. So I'm going to take the money on this one. Nick D.
Yeah, I totally agree. It has a lot to do with the Chargers just not being healthy. Justin Herbert what is his status? Is he even playing?
Questionable.
Okay, so even if he does play, he's not going to play the way he usually does. So, yeah, the Chiefs are just too good right now. So, yeah, give me the Chiefs -7.
And Ben.
Yeah, I'm going with the Chiefs -7. Obviously you guys make great points, but the Chiefs have always just owned. I mean, Patrick Mahomes is just owned, it feels like, the Chargers too. And I think specifically with the uncertainty of Justin Herbert, and you also have to take into account that the Chargers really haven't had the number 1 guy for Justin Herbert this year in terms of the throw to. So
other than like Quinn, but I was always going into that with a question of
that's not even saying much.
Yeah.
I mean, they lost Eckler. Eckler obviously maybe not be the same type of running back he once was, but they lost Eckler. They lost Gerald Everett. They also lost, obviously, Keenan Allen, too. So, they lost a ton of guys for Justin Herbert. So, even if he is going to be potentially healthy, I still think the Chiefs are going to win and win, considerably a decent amount because they just don't – the Chargers specifically are just relying too much on Herbert, and they don't have a lot of pieces kind of around him to help him out as well. So, give me the Chiefs. And I also think, too, that Mahomes hasn't really had that massive big game just yet. I think this is going to be the game this weekend for him.
So just looking at the full injury report, Herbert was limited on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And now he's first questionable. So if he was limited all week, I just don't see him playing. That's just my gut. I think he's not going to play if he's been limited all week.
Yeah. Sorry, just needed to finish the text. Going over now to Browns Raiders. One more fast track before we get to our primetime games. The Raiders, a 1.5 point favorite at home. Cleveland, obviously, a lot of questions surrounding them, especially considering they came off a loss, and a really bad one, to the Giants. Nick Morgeson, how do you feel on this one? Because questions revolving around both teams. Oh, I should make mention before, Nick, that there are rumors that Gardner Minshew may get pulled eventually for Aiden O'Connell in the very near future. So how do you feel about this one?
I'm not feeling great. This is like a nasty game. Like if I could flush it down the toilet, I would, because this is a horrible game. The Raiders embarrassed themselves last week, getting completely annihilated by the Panthers. I know the Panthers played good. I know Andy Dalton played good. But how do you lose to one of the worst teams in the NFL? That's what I don't understand here. The Browns, I think we grossly overestimated the Browns a little bit on how good they could actually be. Like, I'm the biggest Deshaun Watson hater there is out there. Like, I hope this guy pits and burns and fails and ends up out of the league, like Anthony said a few weeks ago. What did you say, Anthony? You said you could see him out in the next 1 to 2 years?
I said once he's not the starting quarterback of the Cleveland Browns, he's going to be out of the league because no team's going to deal with that and bring him in. And, the headaches is outweighing his play.
And I think that's part of the issue. In the Giant game, when they've got that first drive and they drove quickly down the field, I said, it's going to be a Browns offensive game. And then they just completely laid an egg the rest of the game. And that scares me. There's questions on both sides. It's a pick'em game. Give me the Raiders, but I'm not confident about it.
Yeah, I don't like either of these teams, but at the very least, Las Vegas has shown some signs of life. Cleveland, I don't think, really has shown much of anything. And I just can't trust the way that Deshaun Watson is playing. And I can't trust this Cleveland offense with the way that Deshaun Watson is running it. So, I have always been a big advocate about the Browns defense. But, I mean, the way that the Browns lost to the Giants last Sunday, that has to be a morale and momentum deflator than anything. So I'm not confident in this game. I hate this game. But
no Devontae either.
That's the other thing, though. No Devontae Adams.
This is an ugly game.
This is bad. Really bad. I would recommend watching any of the other 3 games in the 4:00 window at this point.
Go out for a walk instead of watching this game. Go get some exercise.
This is a bad game. I'll still go with Vegas, but I hate it. I hate this any way I look at it. Nick D.
I hate it too. I'm going with the Browns.
I don't think there's really a wrong answer on this one.
There's
There's
no
really
right,
no
there's
wrong
no right
answer.
answer either.
There's no wrong answers, no right answer. Like, if any result happens, I wouldn't be surprised in this game.
2 wrongs don't make a right, but 3 rights do make a left, gentlemen.
Yes.
And Cruz.
Yeah, I like the Browns because at least they have a decent defense. I'd say if anything between the 2 teams. And I'm not like the way that Deshaun Watson's been playing, but the Raiders, they kind of have a quarterback situation going on at their hands. And if you don't have Devontae Adams, I think that's another thing that kind of takes them away too. So I hate this game, like Nick, you're mentioning. It's really hard to kind of depict in terms of I wouldn't be surprised if one team wins or the other. It's just kind of that toilet flush game. Go out, have a drink with friends, watch football somewhere else besides the game. So yeah, we're gonna go the Browns here at +1.5. But for anybody that wants to watch this game specifically, I applaud you because I don't think anybody here is going to.
Yeah, no, I don't think anyone real is going to watch it. The only reason I may watch it is just as passing by on the Sunday Ticket or the NFL Red Zone channel. Anthony.
Yeah, I was gonna pick the Raiders up until I seen the injuries. I can't pick the Raiders if Max Crosby and Devontae Adams are out. Max Crosby is the heart and soul of that team. He's almost like the TJ Watt of the Raiders. He really makes that defense go, and without him, it's gonna be really tough. Obviously coming off that embarrassing loss with Carolina, you'd want to pick the Raiders to bounce back. And against the Browns, when you can't trust anything right now, even the defense is having mistakes every now and then. And it's I'm studying because it seems like the Browns offense had its moments last week. There's a couple touchdowns here and there, and Amari Cooper looked pretty good. So it looks like the Browns, found some stuff on offense, but obviously no consistency there. But with those injuries to the Raiders, I can't go with the Raiders, so I'm gonna go with the Browns in this one to win. And obviously, win the game, and obviously the Raiders won't cover.
There we go. Got everything now updated in our sheets. By the way, gentlemen, before we go into the primetime games, just as we're sitting here, just want to see reactions. I don't know if you saw my message in the private chat, but the Chicago White Sox have scored loss number 121.
Oh, my God.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have a new worst team in MLB history.
Wait a minute. It's not the Mets anymore?
It is not.
Well, the Mets are losing 5-0. It's over for us. I feel sick about this.
Where's Frank the Tank when you need it?
I'm becoming Frank the Tank.
No, I can't give you that distinction yet.
If you for Halloween dress up as Frank the Tank, I will.
That would be an incredible costume.
I'm going to the Jet game on Halloween.
Oh,
God.
Wow.
How do you dress up as Frank the Tank?
I don't know.
How about you DM him? Yes.
People don't know this, by the way, and this is behind the curtain. I actually interviewed Frank the Tank for this podcast network a long time ago, way back, actually. And all he did was yell about Rob Manfraud, as he calls it.
Hey, he talked to you the same way he talks to Barstool and any famous person.
Yes. Okay, back to the action.
Back to the action, indeed. See, now Sunday Night Football. Now we've got a good game here. We've got the Buffalo Bills traveling down to Baltimore to take on the Ravens, who are a 2.5-point favorite at home. This is going to be a real close, competitive game. This is going to be a barn burner. It's going to be absolutely fun. And actually, you know what? I'm going to let Anthony go here because he is the Buffalo fan. I should give him the spotlight, first of all.
Yeah, obviously I was wrong last week, and I feel like I've been underestimating the Bills every single week. And I kind of wanted to pick the Ravens again, and I keep underestimating my team. Josh Allen has probably been the MVP of the league so far. The Buffalo Bills, not saying they're going to win the Super Bowl, but and it's still early, but there's a lot of similarities between this Buffalo Bills team and the Kansas City team when they got rid of Tyreek Hill. There's a lot of similarities. They're spreading the ball around. Josh Allen has made the same, improvement that Pat Mahomes did. Not forcing the ball to one target. James Cook has been a very, important vocal point of the offense. Obviously, with all the injuries on the Bills' defense, the defensive players have stepped up in their absence. So the Bills have looked phenomenal and look like one of the best teams in the league. But obviously, we know how high, I was and a lot of you guys were on the Baltimore Ravens. And I feel like we saw a glimpse last week, with Derrick Henry finally having that breakout game and, the Ravens finally starting to put things together. It seems like the Ravens are starting to gel. Obviously, that second half, the Cowboys did look like they were going to come back. But the Ravens are the home team. I think that could be the difference. Obviously, we know that Josh Allen and the Bills play better at home. So I think that's going to be the deciding factor. This is pretty much a pick 'em. Two of the best teams in the league. But since they're home, I'm going to go with the Ravens in this one.
Nick Morganson.
This is a good one. This might be the best game of the week, in my opinion.
Agreed.
Anthony said it best. Josh Allen had probably one of his best games all year. 4 touchdowns. I think it was in the first half, if I'm not mistaken, right? What was the score at the half? Because I don't even remember. Didn't they score like 24 or 27 points?
It was like a 30-3 at the half or something like that.
There was a double header going on ESPN and ABC. I literally turned that game off and went and watched Commanders Bengals after that. I was like, all right, don't need to watch that one anymore. I look at the Bills' schedule. No disrespect, but they played Arizona in week 1. I didn't know what Arizona was going to be until now. Miami with Tua, that was a good victory right there. Obviously, Tua got hurt. The Jacksonville game, I was kind of hoping you were going to blow them out. That was kind of an obvious one. I look at the next couple of games, though. Ravens, Texans, Jets, all on the road. This is a big stretch right now for the Bills. They got to win 2 of these games, at least. I think that now they're the favorite to win the division. Now, with Miami going down with Tua's situation, I'm not confident with my Jets. I think the Bills should be the runaway at this point now to win the division. I will say that I got the Ravens right on the road in Dallas, and I think the momentum is with Baltimore. So I think that the Ravens win this one at home. I think it's going to be close all game. I think it's going to come down to the fourth quarter. It's going to come down to field goal kicks. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game all the way through the end. But I think the Ravens somehow pull this out in the end, and I think it's a barely cover.
Yeah, this is going to be a fun back-and-forth matchup. I think that, I had my question marks about Buffalo coming into this season, but I think Josh Allen has really – Josh Allen I was always high on, but, James Cook has done really well. And I think Josh Allen, even with his new young receivers like Khalil Shakir, they have really performed super so far through the first few weeks of the season. Having said that, I think Lamar Jackson, he, is a former MVP for a reason. I think Derrick Henry, Anthony, you made the mention of it, finally having the breakout game that he was yearning for in this season so far. I think that I will agree. I don't know if I can actually agree about momentum being on the Ravens side, because I feel like this is going to be such a competitive game that I don't think I can look at momentum when I'm looking at this one and trying to make a prediction for this one. I think this one and the Minnesota Green Bay game are the 2 toughest to make predictions on for this week. Browns Raiders as well, but Browns Raiders is for a completely other reason that we went over. So I'll agree with Anthony and Nick Morganson. I'll go Raven barely, like 3-4 points. This is going to be back and forth. It's going to be high scoring. It's going to be a ton of fun. It's going to be what a game headlined by the likes of Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, and Derrick Henry should be.
All right.
Nikki.
Yeah, I like the Ravens. The Bills have been great. Both teams, I think, are two of the three best teams in the AFC. But this game is a gauntlet for the Bills, mainly because they're going on the road. This is going to be a really, really tough game for the Bills. 2.5 is essentially a pick 'em, so I'm just essentially picking the winner. And the Ravens are at home, so because of that, I would probably give them the edge. I don't think the Bills are particularly better. I don't think one team is that much better than the other. But they're at home, so yeah, 2.5. Yeah, I'll take the Ravens.
By the way, just for numbers' sake, because we were talking about high scoring, the over/under is 46.5 right now.
Ooh.
27-24.
Yeah, I would go over on that one.
I could see that too.
No, 24, 20, whatever it is.
We're not math majors here. Ben Cruz.
Speak for yourself.
Yeah, I like the Ravens here. I think another thing too to keep in mind, folks, is the weather is not supposed to be great there. I think it's supposed to be raining over in Baltimore, and I think that definitely favors the Ravens because the Ravens are a very heavy type of team. And I think with the Bills, Josh Allen's obviously been really good so far to start the year. I really liked I don't know if you guys saw the comment he made about he doesn't have to force it into one guy. He's to be kind of, definitely like a dig, no pun intended, Anthony, but I think it might be a dig at Stephon, possibly. But
that was hilarious, by the way.
Yeah. But, I think it's going to be a really, really good one. It's going to definitely come down right to the wire. But I think, the Ravens had a really good win last week. I think they bounced it off. They're going to have their first win at home. I'm going to take the money here, but I think it's going to be a really, really fun game.
All right. Doubleheader, just like last week. Doubleheader Monday Night Football starting at 7:30. I believe this one's on ESPN. It is the Titans taking on the Miami Dolphins. Miami only a 1-point favorite at home, considering their quarterback situation. Now losing Skylar Thompson as well to a concussion. And so, we just talked about Baltimore. Former Ravens backup quarterback Tyler Huntley is now going to be leading the charge over for Miami, taking on a Titans team that, we put through the trash can last week. So, Nick Morganson, this is essentially a pick-em. Are you still confident in the Dolphins with Huntley at the helm?
No, I'm not confident in the Dolphins right now at all, whatsoever. Their quarterback situation is in shambles. What has Tyler Huntley been? He's been on practice squad after practice squad after practice squad. He hasn't been on a team. Obviously, their receivers room is one of the best, but if you don't have a quarterback that's in tune with them, does it really matter if you have a good receiver room? It doesn't matter. I like the run game. I've always liked the run game, but I don't think that's going to be enough. At the same time, though, I think this is an ugly, disgusting game on Monday Night Football because the Titans aren't exactly blowing it away either. What has Will Levis been? All he's been is going backwards with footballs. I mean, they should have beaten the Jets if it wasn't for a backwards fumble or whatever you want to call that, backwards pass, whatever. So, I don't know. I'm taking the Titans +1, but it doesn't really mean much. I guess I'm taking the Titans to win in a close one in the end.
I mean, and I don't want to be disrespectful to DeAndre Hopkins, but going back to that question about, does a wide receiver room make a difference? I think in this game it kind of can. When you've got Tyreek Hill, if probably the best, one of, if not the best receiver in the NFL, and Jalen Waddle, who's a solid 2, right behind him. Tyler Huntley does have some experience within this league. Will Levis, look, I just can't do it. I understand the concerns now that Miami is on a third quarterback, but the Titans are just so terrible. Levis is he's not the guy. And there's just nothing in Tennessee that sparks any sort of positivity within me. So I'm going to have to go with Miami on this one. sad that this game was going to be on Monday night. I mean, ESPN went into this thinking that they were going to get Tua, and surprise, no. Nick D.
Yeah, I like the Titans, and it really has nothing to do with it. It really has something to do with the Titans and everything to do with the Dolphins' terrible situation right now. I just feel like the Titans are due for a win. Like both these teams are bad, but the Dolphins, but at least the Titans are on their first quarterback. The Dolphins seem substantially worse right now. I mean, the Titans could have easily, like you said, Nick, could have easily beat the Jets. There's no way this Dolphins team could come close to beating the Jets. So yeah, I'm gonna go with the Mayo boy.
Ugh.
Mayonnaise and coffee for this game.
Ben.
Yeah, this kind of gives me the Browns and Raiders vibe of a game in which it's just like you wouldn't want to, bet this game on a 10-foot pole. But I guess if I have to pick this one, I'm going to go with the Titans. I feel like they're kind of due. They have a running game, I think, that could definitely, give them something, and they have at least some receivers on the outside. Not to take away from the Miami team right now, but I think it's just really hard to kind of, depict in terms of them without Tua. I think it's going to be kind of a struggle, at least kind of start with them not having him. And, the Titans also beat them last year, I'm pretty sure the year before, on Monday Night Football, where the Titans were the road team. So I'm going to keep that same trend going. I don't think the Titans are going to be great whatsoever this year, but I think that they will have some wins, and this could be one of them. So I'm going with the upset here at +1.
Anthony.
Yeah, I'm going to probably go with the Titans as well. Obviously, they played a lot of close games. I kind of was thinking of going to Miami because obviously you got two quarterbacks you can't trust, but one quarterback in Tyler Huntley may be able to manage the game and not turn the ball over and just be able to hand the ball off and maybe use his athleticism, where Will Levis can cost you the game himself and force things and turn the ball over. But Will Levis is obviously playing for his job. If he loses this one, I'm not sure if they're going to be looking at probably benching him. I know they don't have anything behind them, but at some point you can't have your quarterback costing you every game. But the Titans are due for a win. So, yeah, I'm going to go with the Titans in this one.
All right. And now going over to, everyone's made their picks. So going over now to Monday Night Football at 8:15 on ABC. This is going to be the one to watch. It's going to be the Seattle Seahawks traveling over to Ford Field to take on the Detroit Lions. Incredible game. Solid offenses. I think this is going to be a really fun matchup. Having said that, I've been very high on the Lions. I talked about how high I was on the Lions last year. Now that momentum was just going to continue into another strong postseason run. And this game, I know people, when we talked about the NFC in our preview shows, there were some concerns about the Seahawks. I was pretty high on the Seahawks, but this is not about the Seahawks. This is just how great of a team that the Lions are. I think this should be a fun game. Definitely watch this one instead of Titans Dolphins. And Lions, take the money. Nick D.
Yeah, love the Lions. They've had a really good year so far. I still don't think the Seahawks are that good. I mean, they're 3-0, but they didn't beat anybody. They didn't beat any good teams. So the Lions at home, yeah. I love the Lions. I'm going with Jared Goff.
I mean, in all fairness, this is going to be a test for the Seahawks as well. So we'll see how they perform here. Ben.
Yeah, I'm just not convinced they're that good. That's the thing. They're 3-0, but they might be the worst 3-0 team.
Ben.
Yeah, I like the Lions here. I think, the Seahawks, I will say Geno has been overly pretty solid as a whole, but I do think that they're due for a loss. Kind of like what the Titans are due for a win. I think that this team is due for a loss. And the Lions are a really good team at home, too. You also have to take into account with the Lions is they added some cornerback help, and they're pretty good. So I think that they're going to be going against some of the receivers for Seattle. And I think that for Seattle, they're going to have to kind of focus on their running game. And I feel like for most of the season so far with Seattle is they've been throwing a lot with the football. So I think specifically that the Lions are going to win. And I think that with the way that Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jared Goff started their connection last week, I also think that they're going to have another one this week. I'm going to take the Lions here at 3.5.
Anthony.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be one of the best games of the week. Two solid teams, two definitely playoff caliber teams. Seattle obviously has got a good offense. I love their cornerbacks as well. Tyreek Woolen and Devon Witherspoon is an awesome duo that could obviously give teams fits. But I think the difference in this game is going to be Aiden Hutchinson. He's been on a tear. He's in the conversation for Defensive Player of the Year. I like the Lions' offensive line. I'm not 100% sold on the Seahawks' offensive line. I don't think they'll have an answer for Aiden Hutchinson. Like I said, I think both offense will ultimately do good, but I think the difference in this game will be Aiden Hutchinson for the Lions. So give me the Lions in this one.
Yeah, I definitely think that Hutchinson's probably going to end up in the conversation for a Defensive Player of the Year award. Nick Morganson, finish us off.
Yeah, I would watch out for Jamison Williams in this games because he's actually had some good games decently so far. I could see him popping off for a big game against the Seahawks. Goff actually hasn't been bad this year. He's actually had some really good games. They should be 3-0. By the way, that was a horrible loss to Tampa Bay. Like, I don't know what was going on with the Lions that day, but
they also could have easily, in fairness, they could have easily lost to the Rams too.
True, you're right, but I just think the Tampa Bay loss was worse, in my opinion. They should have won that game.
Obviously.
But I think the Seahawks, I can't get mad. Gino, who my gripes with Gino over the years and whatnot, but I got to give him credit. He's playing good football. I can't deny that anymore. But I just think the Lions are getting into form, and their stretch, they have a brutal stretch the next 3 games. Seattle, at Dallas, at Minnesota. That's a pretty grueling schedule coming up for the Lions.
Yeah.
They need to win this game because the next 2 are going to be brutal. So I'm going to take the Lions to cover.
All right. And ends another edition of Football Friday. So one more time, make sure you follow us across social media, Facebook, X, Instagram, TikTok, at TFB Forecast ETB, where we put up takes. We put up our locks, our primetime game predictions. If you missed any of that, you can make sure to follow us across social media, and you'll see them there, as well as all of our predictions for Thursday Night Football and all the games. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/ETB Network. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. Help us out. Get us to 900 subscribers and eventually to the big 1K mark. And if you can't watch or you don't want to watch, you can obviously take Football Forecast on the road with you wherever you get your podcast, whether Acast, Spotify, Apple Podcast, so much more. And shout out to our friends over at Playback for continuously being a sponsor of this show and everything else here at the ETB Network. So, gentlemen, this has been a blast. Enjoy the games this weekend. All of you out there, enjoy the games this weekend. So, for Nick DiMartino, for Anthony Ballister, Ben Cruz, Nick Morganson, I am Tom Aldano, and we will see you next time for another edition of the Football Forecast. Same time, right here next week.
See you, everybody. See you next week.